Hey, hello, this is Pookie's Revenge, and this is going to be a Webull crash course. I'll try to keep this super simple, just so you don't take too much of your time watching it. This is made for Matster, one of our lifetime members in the PBAlerts community, so let's crack into it. So right here is this is the Webull desktop app interface. It's a pretty straightforward, download. If you don't already have the app, you can use the website as well, but the layout will be slightly different. So this is my small cash account. I've just got to just reset it back to $100, blah, 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 blah. So regardless of your account size or regardless of whether or not you even have a funded account, let's walk through the interface itself so we can kind of understand how it works. So there's this left bar. This is the navigation pane right here. The two areas I want to focus on today are going to be the stocks tab and the settings button down here. It's a little gear icon. I don't know if you guys can see that clearly on the recording. If you want to add any more, you just click this out here and you got some options as far as, just some quick access things. So I'm on the stocks one right here, and this one is probably the most confusing, I think, for a lot of people. You got the account one here and the paper trading one here as well if you just want to kind of see what's going on with your money, or if you want to practice on a paper trading account. If I click that, it's going to log me out and vice versa. So the general layout here, and you can drag and drop these, but they're based on tiles, basically, little windows that dock. So if, for example, I want to move my, let's say I want to move my volume analysis window around, I can drag it left and right within the same window, and it just kind of locks to that tab. Otherwise, you can drag and drop them here, and if I want to put it over here, I can. You just hold the mouse button down basically, and then you can align it here so it'll have a blue bar that'll kind of tell you where it's going to dock to, or you can just drag it over to a widget that is already on the field here, and then you can just kind of plop it down there. If you drop it in the middle, it'll add it as one of the tabs up here. And if I drop it right here, you can see the whole thing is surrounded in blue. You could just drop it there as well. It's the same thing. So I'm just going to put this down here. I never use the volume analysis widget, but it's an easy one to kind of walk through. So the way that you add new widgets is you have to come up here to this little cube-looking icon that says widgets. You just click that, and then you got a whole bunch of them here. They're organized under these different categories. So if it's related to the stock itself, like the quote stuff, like the chart, the options chain, the corporate events, the key statistics, anything like that, that's going to be here under quote. If it's related to pushing buttons and placing in buy and sell orders and things like that, you're going to see it under trade. And that's where you see like your past orders, your account info, your open positions, Turbo Trader, Classic Trader, order entries down here, for example, Turbo Traders over here. We can dig into all those in a minute. Stocks, these are mostly for kind of digging into just a little bit deeper into the company as far as what Webull provides. I don't really use this that much. I might click the news one if something's moving really quickly. Order flow is such a horribly misunderstood concept, so use your best judgment on that. Short interest is not always accurate. Webull is very limited in terms of what they render. And then, of course, we don't really trust the institutional analysts because they want to take our money. So I don't really use these too much. And then under general, this is where you're going to get kind of your collections related tools. Like if you want to build a watch list, for example, made up of 5 to, let's say 100 tickers, you're going to use a watch list for that. If you want to find a stock to trade or a set of stocks to trade to look through, you can use the screeners. If you're looking for options, you can use an option screener, bond screener. Alert messages, that's just a feed of open alerts that you've set up. Little reminders here and there, like it'll notify you when the price hits a certain level. There's also like you can set up an audio queue so you get a notification for it. I don't really use this that much personally, but a lot of people might find it helpful. The note one is very helpful, so I'm going to use this. I'm going to add it to this right here. I've already got it set up over here, but I want to add it right here as well, just to kind of show you guys how it works. And the clock is I think it's one of the most important ones, I think, because people tend to spend way too much time looking at the market. So having a clock here to kind of remind you that it's okay to just recognize what time it is, walk away. That's another helpful one as well. And then under market, that's kind of when you get more broad market analysis stuff like your heat map and things like that, your top gainers and losers. That's what I use to build my watch list personally. But, to each their own. So I'm going to go ahead and add under general here, it says note. So I'm going to hit plus here. That's going to kind of pop it out in front of everything. So then I'm just going to kind of click this darker side of the bar and just kind of drag it wherever I want it to go. I want it to go right next to order entry, so I'm just going to drop it right there. And then if I want to type in, this is RPGL, hit the save button here, and then I go over to a different stock. You can see there's no note here that I have under BNAI, but if I click back to RPGL, it saves it for me, so I can use this to keep any research that I do on these stocks. I can keep them compartmentalized pretty easily. So let's say I build a watch list of 5 tickers. I do all kinds of research. I plot my levels on the chart, which I'll show you how to do here in a minute. And then I put all my notes down here. I'll have them available without having to leave this window, so I have a nice compressed interface that I can use. So under watch lists, it's at this point, you understand the layout. Now we just got to dig into the individual windows here. So I'm just going to give you kind of the essentials. So the watch list one is pretty straightforward. You can you click these little hamburger menu icons right there on all these to edit their settings. You can choose different display modes. I just like the more compact one because I don't like a bunch of stuff on my screen. If you click edit watch list, you can choose, you can click through all these. Like I have the Magnificent 7 here, for example. I've got a member built one here from a long time ago, and I got my day trade one that I use every morning. I just delete all the tickers and I add the new ones from the screener. So having a watch list makes everything much cleaner, and instead of seeing all these tickers moving up and down all day, you can use these little left and right arrows here and navigate. I just click this, and then I've only got 5 things to watch. It's a lot easier to keep an eye on 5 things than constantly trying to scramble and find new things to trade, because that's not healthy. So once I have that, once I have a ticker pulled up and I like it, I wanna analyze it, right? I want to do some studying, plot out some levels and all that good stuff. So in order to do that, I got to go to the chart widget right here, and I kind of make that my biggest one because I like to see the charts. If you click these icons up here, things will change, okay? So basically think of the first group here as categories of tools. The second group here is going to be the individual category-specific tools, like what kind of drawing tools you have, what kind of chart type you have. And then the last one here is just some modifiers and some extra tools that are kind of supplementary, okay? So the first one here is going to be indicators, and this is where you're going to do things like you're going to add your moving average. There's a little hide and show toggle that you can set on these, as well as the settings icon. So if I want to add the Donchian channels and then click the settings icon, I can do that, and I can change this length to 5, right? Whatever I want to do. I can open this up again, and I can just reset to default, and it'll just show all my bands again, and it'll start the process all over again back at 20. So I just hid the upper and mid band. And you can click the little X here to remove them, just like most interfaces have. And that's pretty straightforward. You can click this all indicators here, and you can just type what you're looking for. Webull does have very limited custom indicator scripting, but it's kind of trash, just between us girls. So I made a couple here, but the interface itself is just not as strong as Thinkorswim or TradingView. They both offer better, as much as I hate saying PineScript is better, they offer more powerful features. And I can dig into the specifics of why I'm making that claim, but just to keep it simple, just click all indicators here and then just kind of scroll down to what you like. Now they are going to be categorized. You can also filter, you can do the built-in main chart or subchart. So if you want to do like a moving average or Ichimoku cloud or something that's on the chart, you click the main chart and make sure that's enabled. If you want to do something below the chart, like an RSI, ATR, stochastics, anything that's underneath, like the MACD, that would be a subchart. Then each indicator, falls into categories here. You've got trend following, you've got oscillators like the MACD and RSI. Those are things that move up and down. Volume stuff like the VWAP, I believe that'd be an oscillator in this case here. You got the volume profile, things like that. Momentum, volatility, price pattern, and other. So you have a bunch of tools here that you can explore. Just feel free to play around with them. And then the most recent 5 that you use will stay up here on the short list. So if you just want to add and remove them over and over again, like the ATR, for example, it stays on this list. All right. Then the next button here, the next category is going to be the drawings. And this is kind of where people get a little bit overzealous. So you don't want a whole bunch of stuff on your chart because you want the chart to be very simple and clean so that you don't have to think a bunch. Because when you think, you get stressed. But that's a rabbit hole I'll dive into later. So under the second group of tools here, you can see there's 4 dropdowns. So the first one is all single line tools. It's either a line segment, which just goes from one point to another. It's an extended line horizontally, so it goes all the way to the edges. It's a vertical line, meaning that it goes up and down forever. It's extended, which means it just goes at an angle or sideways or however you draw it, but it goes forever. Then you've got a ray, which is like a line segment that extends in one direction. And then you've got a horizontal ray, which is just a horizontal line that extends all the way into the future. Those are all single line tools. The multi-line tools are going to be here, and this is where you have to just click, more than once or twice, like the pitchfork, for example, or the polyline. You can just click as many times as you want on this thing, and it goes crazy. So when you're done, just hit enter, and it'll seal that. It'll lock it in, and then you can move on with your day. You live your life, go get married, take on a second mortgage, whatever you got to do. When you're ready to delete it, you can drag it around and stuff. Just click on it, so these blue dots appear, and then just push delete, and it'll delete it. Okay. Then you've got the position management, the simulation tools like the long position, short position. Like let's say that I want to have a long position here, and I want to use a 1-to-4 risk-reward ratio. It shows me my risk range, my profit range, as well as the ratio. And of course, I can just reshape these as it goes as well. Okay. So I can do long position, short position. I can do data and price range. I can do a fixed range volume profile. So if I draw that to there, for example, it'll tell me kind of the participation strength at each level. But that's kind of a lesser known thing. You can do parallel lines as well, which is pretty good for mapping ranges and things like that. Then on this third category here, you've got all your Fibonacci's. So Fibonacci retracement is a 2-click tool. So you click the bottom, you click the high, and then the retracement is the pullback and then potential continuation. For the extension, that's a 3-click one. So you got to click the bottom, the top, and then the bottom of the retracement, and then you get the extension tools for the forecasted target. Then you get the time zone. Obviously, I don't use that. Then you've got a text and notes and drawing tool and an arrow. You get a couple extra tools here now. So if I just want to add some tools, text goes here. I can then draw that and put it on the chart, and I can style it up. I can change the color. I can change the text again if I need to edit it, and then I can delete it as well. Okay, so I don't need text on my chart, so I'm going to leave it where it is. But that's pretty much the drawings in a nutshell. And then you've got your line style here as the third category. This is pretty straightforward. It's a line chart. You've got an area chart, which is just like a line chart, but the bottom of it is colored. It's a little more opaque. Then you've got your candles, which is the most popular at this point. Then you got hollow candles. That's great for accessibility issues. Like if somebody's colorblind, for example, and they don't change their color scheme, they might not be able to see which ones are which. And if they don't check the OHLC, they won't be able to tell. So the hollow candles are really helpful for that. Baseline is really good for identifying key levels, like this right here. And then any price above will be above it. And on your screen, it's probably going to be green by default. I changed mine because I stream and I want the accessibility, the colors to be different for people that are colorblind. And then anything below the line will be red. So if I move it up here, you can see it changes the shape. So basically, there's just this imaginary line that goes across the middle of the screen. Anything above or below is colored accordingly. And then you've got the bar charts. These are basically like, I like to treat them like little pipes. You've just got water flowing in and out. So it's got the stem, and then it's got the open, and the close is on the right side. The high and low represent the top and bottom of the candle itself, the stem. And then, of course, you have a colored variant of that just to make it a little bit more visible. And then you've got Heikin-Ashi, which is a little bit more complicated, but it's intended to smooth out the noise within the price movement. And Mattster, I'm making this for you, so I know you already know this stuff, but I want everyone else to know this stuff too. And the way that works is basically it just takes the average of the previous candle, and it plots the midpoint, and then it averages up the OHLC of the current candle, and then that plots the close. So when you get general movements, you get one solid color from candle to candle to candle, and then when it turns around, the trend reverses enough to cause a reversal, then the Heikin-Ashi candles will change, and it's its own little approach to the market. So I won't get too far down the hole on that. Then beyond that, you've got this grid layout, and this is pretty cool. So you can do one stock, one chart for the full view, or you can do them side by side if you want to look at two tickers at the same time. Let's say I want to do SPY and compare it to this one here, which is just a random runner for the day. I can do that. I can break them up into 3 charts. I can do any combination of 3 charts. I can do any combination of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 charts. So if I have enough Tylenol, I can drive myself crazy and just look at 9 charts if I want. And you can also customize whether or not they all pull up the same ticker if you want, which is kind of silly with 9 charts in my opinion, but you can also change different time frames. So some people may prefer to use this for time frame confluence and things like that, like maybe put your weekly down here. daily, 4 hour, 2 hour, blah, blah, blah. That's too much information. So, but you might have your reasons, and that's okay. But in order to do that, you want to make sure that the time checkbox here is unchecked, because if it's checked, it will sync that setting to all the charts. So if I disable indicators and I unclick this one here, you can see all the rest of them still have the moving average. And then if I click indicators again and enable it, you can see it added it back to this chart. Okay. And since time is enabled, if I kick this up to the 5-minute chart, you can see they all change to the 5-minute, they all change to the daily, they all change to the 1-minute, they all change to the 2-minute. If I uncheck this and I go to the 30-minute, it's just going to do the one that's highlighted here with this blue border around. That's the active chart. So if I come over here to this one, now the blue border is around this guy, I might kick this up to the 30-minute, for example. So I'm just going to check the symbol, or the time setting again, and they all come up to the active one, which is 30 minutes. If I had this one active, it would have been the 5-minute or 1-minute. I forgot what I just did. But you get the idea. And then if you're trading like SPY, for example, if you want to pull up a SPY contract, you click the options widget and just pick a contract, basically. It'll put the contract on the left and the underlying chart on the right so that you can watch them side by side, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of value in being able to do that, because you can kind of tell when you might want to take profits if you're someone who trades the option chart. So most of the time I just prefer to keep the, just the regular single chart up. You don't really need to look at a whole bunch of stuff because it just gets messy. And then for placing orders, you've got your order entry widget, or I put mine down here. You can put it wherever you'd like. Some people put it on the right side. I have a trade widget over here. But for the order entry, that's pretty straightforward. You just click new order, make sure that you're on the chart that you want to trade, and that this ticker right here matches the symbol. For strategy, it's just going to be single in most cases. You're probably not going to get too complicated on Webull, unless you want to be. But yeah, make sure that symbol matches. And then you got your side to choose. You can buy or sell. I already used all my buying power for the day, so I'm not going to be actually buying anything, but I'll walk you through it until it's time to push the button. And then under quantity, you can choose to place dollar amounts. So if I want to buy $93 worth of shares, I can. Or if I click this 3 discs right here, these are shares. I could buy 93 shares, or I could try to. It would reject. Or I can use percentages of my buying power. So if I want to use half my portfolio, for example, I can do 50%. Then for order type, you've got limit and market and stop limit, trailing stop. You're pretty much just going to stick with limit and market. If you don't want to get filled at an inefficient price, you're going to want to use limit, and that lets you set the price so you get filled at or better or not at all. And if you just want to get filled immediately and not worry so much about the specific price point, then you can use market to just ensure that you get in. But again, the trade-off there is you get whatever price you get. And then you can set the limit price. You can type it in all you want. But if you click this little pencil icon right here, this is for manual input. You can click the last price, or you can buy the bid or the ask. So I like to leave it on last price just because it updates immediately as things come through the time and sales, and I can kind of catch a trend a little bit easier that way. And if I don't get filled when something starts to take off, that's okay. It keeps me out of that mess of trying to punch in numbers and move the mouse down here and move the mouse back up here and move the mouse down here. It's too messy. Time and force, I almost always just leave this on good till canceled. You can set it to day if you want to. Like if you're following a rally, for example, and maybe you want to cash out at a higher price point, but you're okay holding it longer term, you might use a day, but I almost always leave it on good till canceled. Trading hours, I always leave this on include extended hours as well. Stop losses don't work outside market hours, so it's useless for those. But for limit orders, you can leave that on extended hours, and you can get filled most of the time as long as the price fills there. And then you of course you have to make sure you're in the queue and that your order gets hit. So with that said, we've got our chart tool. We got our chart here with all the drawing tools. We're on the right time frame. We're walking down through the time frames to find the cleanest, most well-respected chart. We've used the drawing tools to make sure that we plotted out our levels. We know where the price is likely to be. We know how to participate when it's time to get in or get out. We can push buttons. We have the order book here and the time and sales here, so we can read the volume and all that good stuff. So we're pretty well set, but now we got to optimize, right? We also have our positions over here so we can kind of see what we're trading, which is important. And then again, for all these, if you want to change, you can change these to, I just like more compact personally. It's just what I prefer. You can also, you can filter out so you're only looking at this one stock, for example, and all that good stuff. So spend some time and get familiar with each of the widgets that you're going to use, and it'll help you out. So if you don't like this order entry form that you fill out, you can set up hotkeys, and those are pretty cool. The alternative to those hotkeys is going to be TurboTrader. So I'll cover that here in a second, but let's look at the hotkeys first because I like mine. So in order for me to activate mine, I have to hold the control key because that's what I've assigned to them, and I'll show you how to do that here in a second. But this is kind of a quick reference. So you just kind of hold the one key down and you can see all your hotkeys here. So for example, if I want to buy 44 shares of whatever stock I'm looking at, it says it right here, at market, I can hit Control 1. And then if I want to sell 75% of them at last, I can hit Control 2. If I want to sell everything and get out of the position, I can hit Control 3. And then I got some modifiers here with take profits and stop losses and a trailing stop down here. In this box, there's an override for the quantity. So you see how they all changed to $30 as well? If I uncheck that, they'll go back to their default numbers. But if I check it, it just sets it to that default quantity. You can also change it to shares and percentages as well. And there's some little buttons down here that can help you kind of, like if I want to change it to $10 or $50 or $100, and then it just goes up and down by that number, basically. So not the most efficient in terms of getting the exact numbers that you want, but it's close enough to get you in, right? So pretty good in most cases, but I like to, let's look at those defaults and how do we actually set up the hotkeys, all right? So to set up the hotkeys, you got to come down here and hit the settings button, and then you're going to want to push hotkeys, okay? Under general, that's just like your appearances and your time zone and things like that. Spend some time in these settings and explore and just go nuts. Like it's going to be your best friend. And there's little like menu bar settings, notification settings, and some about here to make sure if you ever need to update your app, you can do that. Just come here and check for an update. But let's click hotkeys, and then we'll go to trade because we're looking to trade. And then here's where you're going to kind of see a list of your kind of your default hotkeys that you've set up. But you can't edit them. Like you can't reassign them. You can't change whatever properties there are. So you're going to click this hotkey settings button. That'll open this window right here. Okay. And if you collapse these down, you can see these are also grouped into categories here. So let's just expand the stocks one, for example. And you can see this buy market here doesn't have anything set. That's not the one that I have enabled. I have customized ones down here, and you can see the hotkey that's associated with it. So for example, my Control 1, where I buy 50% at market, is set right here. So I've clicked in this box. If I hit like Control, I don't even know what I have set. Control 6, for example, it'll do that. Let me just change that to Control 1, just so I don't mess myself up. But you can see it's order type market, quantity 50%, right? It's set to percent. For this one here, I have a Control 9 is where I do a single strategy limit buy of 50% at the last price with no limit offset, which I never use. There's no need for that unless you're scalping OTCs. Time and force is always good till cancel. Extend hours doesn't matter in the hotkey realm because for some reason they just don't execute even if they're limit orders. And in this case, I enabled a take profit order at 1.5%, but I didn't enable a stop loss on this one. So that's important to note if you want to have a bracket order. You got to have them both checked. Control 8 here is the same kind of thing. It's just buying 50% at limit with the last price with the take profit automatically set at 6%, meaning after I get filled, it will set a limit sell order at 6% above my entry price. Okay. And then here for Control 5, this is just the one I have set up. I have a 1% stop loss, 6% take profit, and it sets them both. So when I place an order, it'll place a sell order up here and a sell order down here. And then I just let the price do what it wants to do. So I don't want to go through all these. You could do the same thing with options trades. Like if you were watching the side-by-side, for example, you can use hotkeys for your options. For order settings, these are just kind of pre-filled things. As you're using hotkeys, you'll see a bunch of pop-ups that are like, oh, do you want to disable this notification? And you can hit yeah. Some of them you're going to want to keep up, like the order confirmation you're probably going to want to get rid of. So you can just set this to no. But the quantity one, you can say no as well, and you can just kind of leave the default at 10. Certain times you're going to want to keep a notification up, like if you're buying with 100% of your buying power, for example, to make sure that you're not using margin or something like that, because you don't want to end up in a bad spot. So just get some practice. Eventually you can turn all these notifications off and things, but just understand that when the notifications pop up, that'll cause a little bit of friction because you have to do more clicks or more button pushes. Okay. It's little inefficiencies like that. So my Control 3 is set here under close. So I've just got a market sell, just get rid of everything, close all my stuff. And of course this doesn't work outside market hours because it's a market order. You can also reverse if you're on margin, flatten. You can do working orders, or you can check your position. This is your position display. I just like to leave mine open P&L, because I don't really care what it does day to day. I can see it side by side right here, so I don't have to worry about all that. And that's pretty much it. Now you can also use hotkeys for paper trading. I don't really do that because I don't really try to scalp or do anything super fast over there. But you certainly could. The other important element here is your drawing hotkeys. This is what I personally like. For example, a trend line is Shift T. So I use Control for my buy and sell, and I use Shift as a modifier for my drawing. So it's always Control or Shift depending on what I want to do. If I want to draw a trend line, it's Shift T. If I want to draw a horizontal or vertical line, it's H or V, as long as I'm holding that Shift key down. E for extended, Y for ray. And you can come up with your own things. R for rectangle, that's my favorite one. I use that a lot. F and X for Fibonacci retracement and extensions. I've got Control Z to undo, Control Y to redo. Sometimes you just mess up on a chart and you want to undo it. Make sure that's set. Ow. Sorry, I just ripped my headset off my head. You can also Control T to cycle through the times, and you can change all these. So for example, if I want to do a draw an arrow, for example, if I do Shift A right here, and then I close this, and then I come over here and I hit Shift A, I can click on that and I see an arrow, and then I can just kind of move it around, do whatever I want to do with it, make it big and strong, and then I can resize it by clicking this one, and I can delete it by pushing the delete key, or I could come up there and do all that stuff. So hopefully that's enough of a primer. I think you have enough at this point. You know that you can access your account. You log in, all that good stuff. You fund it. You can get to your the stocks tab, right? Because you know what this nav bar is. You know all your settings are set up. You know how the indicators work, the drawing tools, chart type, grid layout. We're not going to worry about all this stuff because it's all just add-on features and stuff. You know about the subcategories for these bars here. You know about all the different tabs and how to kind of move stuff around on your screen. You've got your trade set up here. You've got your order types and your hotkeys all set up. You got your modifier. You can just override if you want to, or you can just push the buttons as they come. I think that's kind of all you need for now. I mean, feel free to ask me questions in the chat. I'm going to post this in lifetime as well as in premium as well as in free, just for anyone that might have questions about how Webull works. And we can definitely dive deeper into the other widgets and things like that over time. Okay, so thanks for watching. I'll upload this to my YouTube, and then we'll just rock and roll from there. All right, enjoy.